Howdy, and welcome to Broken Tool Garage. This week we're doing something a little bit different, doing a little fabrication. We're doing some brakes. So this is the master cylinder that goes on the 70 Dodge truck. It's a 4-hole pattern. This is the newer model, like this is actually off my 85 Ram Charger because I replaced it. Nothing wrong with it. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to make an adapter plate, sort of kind of like this, to adapt this one to the firewall over here. So now this, on this application, this firewall actually has some holes in there and these actually line up. So I'm like, oh, that's easy. I don't have to drill a hole in the firewall. The other thing, I'm going to be making this to where it's removable. So if I ever did want to go back to this old style, I can. Now, why would I want to do this? Number one, I have this one and it's in good condition. Number two, this, I think I have a lifetime warranty on this one. So I can change it out. But this is a little bit more modern design now. This is for drum front rear. This is for disc front drum rear. There is some subtle differences in there, but for the street, what we're doing, it shouldn't matter. Now, this has a nice plastic cap on there. It's just a better design. It has a better design internally, so it's going to work, should work quite a bit better than this old one. And this old stuff, I mean, this is from a 1970. It's drum front. It's getting harder and harder to get good quality parts. And I can't buy one from the parts store, but how good is that? Is someone really making these new? I mean, how many of those are they going to sell in a year, right? So it's just getting harder and harder to find good parts for these old trucks. So over on the firewall, as I said, we got our four holes in there. I already made sure that my lines will fit up. So that's kind of knocked out right there. And the idea is I'm going to make a plate that goes behind the firewall on each side, a little plate that matches these holes here, and then a main plate that goes in there, and on these holes here, I'll just rivet it in place. And of course, I'll put a gasket in there and all that, right, and make that to where it's sealed up. So that leaves these two holes here, and I'll weld on these two plates I put on the back. I'll weld a bolt in there so it works as a stud, so I'm just sliding the master cylinder on and tighten it up. That's the idea, and like I said, if I ever wanted to change my mind, it does that. The other thing, we see our drum brakes here. If you watch my other video where I went through and kind of, well, roughly showed you some of the stuff I did on this, not really a how-to. I did all this work to these. I'd like to use it, but honestly, if we're going to really keep this truck, this needs to be addressed and upgraded to disc, whether it be doing a frame swap or buying the kit that essentially uses this knuckle in here and removes all that and puts a disc setup on there. If I go that route and just do the adapters and everything, I'm already set up to run that right there, right? So a few reasons to do that right there. Anyways, well, as I said, we got our rough template in here. Don't worry about that hole. I messed that up. I don't know what I was doing. I was doing weird stuff that I shouldn't have been doing. Brain farting, essentially. But I'm making this out of cardboard first because whenever I mess up, it's just grab another piece, right? It's not as hard as doing metal. Now, the little inner pieces on here, I'm doing about 3/8 of an inch in is what I'm doing because I don't want it near the edge. We might not have enough room in there. I might have to come back and grind that away. So I'm going to do one first. Here's our pattern. I'm going to drill those holes and cut this piece out. I'm making it 1 inch wide and well, however long it is to match our pattern we got right there, right? So I'll make one of those and then trim this in to fit the inside of the firewall. Let's go take a peek at that. And we are peeking at that. Messing with the light. Haha, there we go. Now it's going to fall on the camera. So there's not a whole lot of gap in there, so the way I have that drawn out just isn't going to work. Now, I could flip it around maybe, and that may work, but there's not a lot there. And I wanted that gap in there just to make sure the hole's not too close to the edge, right? So we're going to be using that center one. I went ahead and put the black reforming seal on there because once I get that on there, I can't paint behind it, right? So it's kind of there. So this is kind of the state of what we got. I'm just now kind of sort of getting to interior. I guess this is technically interior, but there's a whole lot to do here. Kind of cleaned it up right quick, got the brake pedals off. So getting the master cylinder on is kind of the next thing I want to do, because that allows me to plumb the brake system that we see right here, get all that done. I got another thing I got to do on these brakes. I need to seat the brake shoes into the, I was going to call it rotor. It's a drum. It kind of is like a rotor, but it's a drum. It's weird. So this is how they did that in the old days. And, well, that's a whole nother video going over all that. You're probably here to see how to fabricate this little adapter plate. So you already saw that. Looking at that, this isn't going to work right there. So what I may do, because the pattern, I think, is symmetrical. We can check that. Maybe it's not symmetrical. Maybe if I put the thing on there right, that would help. Okay, that works. If it's symmetrical, then I should be able to put this one on that side. Yes, they are, thankfully. So I might just move this line over because I know I don't have enough room. Maybe go ahead and just drill my holes in there while it's a big piece. And then I'll know how close I can get that line and get it as close as I dare, and then cut that piece out. That's how we're going to do that one. And this is 18 gauge steel. This is what we're going to be using for that. I also got this for patch panel stuff, but that's yet another video. If you like this, we're going to be doing a lot of videos. I already done a lot of videos on the truck, but all right, got the first plate done right here. That's the pretty side right there. And that's the ugly side. I'll show you. I ain't scared. And it does fit both sides. So I'll need to recreate another one of these right here. And you see the little holes right there? Those are for the 1/8" rivets. So this would be on the back side, right? And then I'll have the plate on the front side riveted together with a little gasket in there. And then what that'll do is seal it all up. Because if I just went in and put studs in here, this hole doesn't match the master cylinder, and I have a hole there, hole there, hole there, and hole there. So with that plate and gasket, it'll seal that up and keep rain from getting out of there, right? So that's kind of the point of this exercise. I was going to weld bolts to the back of that, and that would work. It'll get there, but it doesn't solve this whole problem right there, right? All right, on my little quick show and tell mock-up, right? So we got our two little holes for the rivets, the bolt. Now the bolt's going to be welded to the back of that, right? And then here's your plate right here. Hard to do with one hand. Deburred, by the way, very important, deburred. So I'm not going to drill these holes yet. I'm going to mock this up in the truck with two hands. Hold on. Technical difficulty. I had it all together and I just had to tear it apart to show you there. So anyways, that plate, well, whatever. You get the point. That goes on the inside. This plate goes on the outside, right? And then the master cylinder goes right there. Help hold it together. And then the rivets, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come from, once I get this on the inside, I'll put a nut on there to hold it in place, and then come back and either mark or drill or whatever, and then I know exactly where the rivet needs to go, and then I'll rivet it together right there, right? Now what I'm going to put in between there is where'd I put it? Oh, a little bit of butyl tape, like siding or whatever, butyl tape. Not brutal tape, butyl tape. And that right there will form a seal up against that firewall right there and keep it from getting water and stuff down in there, right? So that's the other point of doing this plate right here, is to have that seal up against there, right? So let's see how well I did. I think we got to be that way. Yeah. So there we are. Of course, I'll paint it. Well, we'll see if I paint it, because I might get it riveted on there and be like, oh crap, I didn't paint it. So we'll see right here. But that's the idea. So the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get that marked up, get my holes drilled and everything for this, get those welded on there, get that clean painted. I'll probably go ahead and kind of somewhat mock it up while it's all together to make sure it's good, then go ahead and paint it and rivet it and get it together, and we're done. It's well, actually fairly easy, you know. Honestly, it's time consuming, but it is fairly easy. Now, if you have a lot of good tools and your experience, well, you probably already know how to do this, so. All right, test fit time. Yeah, it's pretty much that quick. Now, I got the nuts on there. They're not going to be on there, but this is just to make sure everything kind of lines up right there. Left-handed, look at that. So that fits. I like that. Looks like it's covering a hole good, so I'm going to go ahead and disassemble. Well, actually, I need to get on the inside and drill my 2 little holes. You know, just do those chase holes in there with the drill so that I have the rivet holes lined up for the body and the plate and all of that stuff, right? So I need to do that now. I might go ahead and just tighten those nuts down real good to make sure it don't move. So that's important right there. Once you get something lined up, you don't want it wiggling on you, because then you'll go and weld and all that, and all of a sudden you get it all looking pretty and it doesn't line up. And you're wondering why. Well, that's why. I thought this would be a lot quicker. What it is, it's got a few layers of the metal on the cab, and it's kind of squishing them. So anyways, yeah, alignment's good. Looks like it had enough stud length left, so when we put that on, I'll, you know, of course, won't have the nuts on the back. So yeah, I already got my drill bit over here. Hopefully I can reach in there and get it. If not, I'll just have to mark it and lay it down over here and on my drill table and drill it, right? Fancy. I mean, that is high tech right there. But that's how much material I used, and we'll just take a peek at this whenever I'm done, and yeah, it'll be awesome.